If you were into music at all in the early 2000s, you absolutely knew Taking Back Sunday. Their songs were pretty much the soundtrack for a whole generation, right at the center of that emo explosion. But the thing is, behind those huge sing-alongs and all those heart-on-your-sleeve lyrics, there's a story of rivalry, total collapse, and just improbable survival that's honestly even more dramatic than their music. I mean, just look at this. A massive festival stage, years and years after they were supposed to have peaked. But this picture of stability, this is something the band had to fight for, tooth and nail, for over 2 decades. Getting to stages like this was anything but simple. It was a journey defined by a revolving door of members and just near constant conflict. And really, that's the question at the heart of it all, isn't it? For Taking Back Sunday, you can't separate the drama from the music. They're all tangled up together. So many of their best songs came directly from that conflict. And their whole career has been shaped by their incredible ability to just endure it. So to get the drama, you first have to get just how big they were. They weren't just another band in the scene. They were one of the most visible, most important groups of that whole early 2000s emo wave. They helped take what was a subculture and shove it right into the mainstream. Okay, so let's get into the story, and we're going to start right at the beginning. Because, believe it or not, the seeds of their entire chaotic history were planted before their first album even hit the shelves. So the band gets together in 1999, out on Long Island. The two key guys here, at least for this part of the story, are guitarist John Nolan and the original bassist Jesse Lacey. Well, some kind of personal incident goes down between them, and Lacey is out of the band. But this wasn't just some lineup change. A year later, Lacey goes and forms a little band you might have heard of called Brand New. And just like that, one of the most legendary rivalries in the scene was officially on. And here's what makes this so wild. Instead of just letting it go, they put it all out there in the music. Jesse Lacey writes this absolutely scathing song for Brand New called 70 times 7, all about the falling out. And what does John Nolan do? He fires right back on Taking Back Sunday's debut with There's No I in Team. They were literally having a fight through their songs for all of us to hear. And this wasn't just some fan gossip. The music press was all over it. Alternative press called it one of the most public intra-band rivalries in emo history. It was this huge, dramatic feud that would follow both bands for years to come. So with that rivalry bubbling under the surface, Taking Back Sunday just explodes. Their debut album is a massive success. They are on top of the world. But here's the thing with this band. It seems like success and stability could just never be in the same room. Just look at how fast things went up and then how fast they crashed. In 2002, they dropped Tell All Your Friends, which becomes an absolute classic of the genre. But by April of the very next year, things between singer Adam Lazzara and John Nolan hit a boiling point. And the next month, May 2003, right at the absolute peak of their success, Nolan and bassist Sean Cooper quit. Gone. And in what was kind of becoming a pattern, they immediately go off and form another band, Straight Light Run. Now, this is the crucial moment. This really should have been the end of the story. The band lost 2 of its main creative guys. They even talked about just calling it a day. But instead, and this would become their signature move, they just refused to die. They decided to rebuild from the ashes. And what happened next is, well, it's maybe the most unbelievable part of this entire story. They came back, new lineup and all, put out their second album, and it debuted at this number on the Billboard charts. That's right, number 3. Their comeback album, Where You Want to Be, was an even bigger commercial hit than their classic debut. I mean, against all odds, after losing 2 founding members, they actually got more popular. It was this incredible twist that proved the band was bigger than any one person in it. So, having somehow survived a breakup that should have killed them, the band set their sights even higher. They weren't the indie darlings anymore. Nope. They were about to become full-blown, major label rock stars. So here's how it went down. Step 1, they signed this huge deal with Warner Bros. Records in 2005. Step 2, the next year they released the album Louder Now. And step 3, the lead single, Make Damn Sure, was just everywhere. You couldn't escape it. It was a massive rock radio anthem. And this chart just lays it out perfectly. Their album on an indie label peaked at a shocking number 3. But their major label debut, it went even higher, all the way up to number 2 on the Billboard 200. The band was somehow still climbing. And, chart success is one thing, but that translated into huge sales. Their album Louder Now sold an absolutely insane number of copies just in the US alone. Over 900,000. I mean, that is knocking on the door of a platinum record. This was their peak, their commercial high point. They were one of the biggest rock bands in the entire country. But, and you've probably guessed there's a but coming, success did not bring peace. In 2007, guitarist Fred Mascherino, the guy who had replaced John Nolan, also quit. And his reason? He gave this really stark quote saying, "The band was more about cooking food than making music." So even at their absolute biggest, the dysfunction was still there. The band kept going, of course. They put out more albums, had more members come and go. But then, after all those years of drama and different versions of the band, the most improbable chapter of their entire story was about to begin. The cycle just kept going. After their next record, New Again, two more guys left. It really seemed like that revolving door was just never going to stop spinning. But then, in 2010, 7 long years after that really bitter breakup, the unthinkable happened. John Nolan and Sean Cooper came back to the band. Just like that, the classic hit-making lineup from Tell All Your Friends was together again. And this wasn't just some one-off nostalgia trip. They did a huge 10th anniversary tour for that album, and then they just stayed together. They recorded multiple new albums and even did a massive world tour for their 20th anniversary. You know, when you look back at a photo like this from their mainstream peak in 2007, it is just incredible to think about the road they traveled. From this moment of huge success, another breakup, more albums, and then finally, this full circle reunion that brought them a kind of stability and a chance to celebrate their entire chaotic legacy. Their story is truly one of a kind. Through all the feuds that literally defined a genre, breakups at the absolute height of their fame, and that constantly spinning revolving door of members, they just refused to quit. And it really makes you wonder, what does a story like this actually reveal about what it takes and what it really costs to survive in the music business?